Texas, there is a Gospel for Asia run by an Indian who proudly says that he's raised, I think the year we looked at it, raised 33 million, 34 million for Tamil Nadu, mostly, to do this sort of work. And so you go and talk to him, you can meet his staff, and it seems like a very big, wealthy establishment. So this list is a long list, and you can see a lot of details on many, many named organizations. So it is not some abstract idea I have. It's very specific, very concrete, exact people, who they are, what they are doing, and where the data comes from. There's about 100 pages of endnotes with references, and over 1,000 references. So it's a very richly documented work, a very research kind of intensive work. Now, there's something in the Washington called the U.S. Commission on International Religious Freedom. This was set up under right-wing pressure, under the Republican pressure. It was set up by Clinton. He didn't want to, but you know, all presidents have to work with the opposing side because they want their bill, they want those guys' support, and then those guys will ask for something in return. So whenever Clinton wanted support from Republicans, you know, they had this Pat Robertson and all these right-wing guys, they had their own agenda. And top on their agenda was, they under the name of International Religious Freedom, they want to have the US government monitor religion in various countries, such as India, in a way that would pressure the government to keep opening the doors for more conversion to be possible. So this International Religious Freedom Act was passed, and it says that the United States Congress should have an annual reporting of religious freedom and religious prejudice internationally in all countries of the world except United States. That is amazing. It's an amazing thing. So then this US Commission was set up, and there's not a single Hindu, Buddhist, Jain, Sikh on this. There's mostly Christians and some Jews. And with a lot of pressure, they put 1 or 2 Muslims. And this is also the case today. There was one Hindu, Preeta Bansal, but she left after 2 years because, you know, she was outnumbered and too much pressure, and she really couldn't get much done. So these guys put out, it's a very interesting mechanism I uncovered. News is fabricated. So, you know, all these different groups, there are dozens of groups in India, they collect data about any violence, about any fight, about anything, reporting a very one-sided approach. Sometimes they even put provocation to create violence so that they can then report it. There is no verification, no independent verification like you would see in the US. Before it hits CNN or any respectable channel, they would want to authenticate that the fact is true, otherwise they would not want to report it. But there is no reporting of this, and these organizations in India feed an international network, and this international network then puts it out every day, you know, in the Christian Science Monitor and in this newspaper, that newspaper, and from there it is picked up by other organizations. So they keep recycling this news until it becomes accepted as fact, when in fact no court has ruled it to be true, and there is no independent authority that has declared that these are in fact the case. And then such information comes to Washington, and they are presented to places like the US Commission on Religious Freedom, and such people are invited to give testimony. So a case is built, and India is put on the list of you know, places that are devoid of religious freedom, the same level as Korea, North Korea, and Cuba, and Yemen, and Saudi Arabia, in that kind of category. And I mean, anybody who knows India would find it very amusing that the statement that India lacks religious freedom. Probably there is too much of it because there's an overabundance of religious freedom. I don't think you could say that it lacks religious freedom. It may lack many other things, but I don't think religious freedom is one of them. But India is on the target list of countries of that kind. So this journey of research has gone to church groups, private think tanks, foundations, academic institutions. I've gone to so many academic conferences regarding South Asia, regarding human rights, just to track when I see a certain speaker, I know that I should go there because I know something about that speaker. So the idea is to get as much data about who are behind it, who funds it. So I have a very comprehensive database which I've tried to capture in this book of who are the funding sources, who provides the ideology, who provides the manpower. So it is government, it is church, it is academia, and media gets co-opted into this, and this is US based, also European based. Now, one of the outcomes of this is to arm the minorities in India as some kind of victims who have to rise against the nation, which can be very dangerous. That can be sparked into trouble. And so they're given a certain idea of their history, which is also fabricated, and they're given encouragement to report trouble against other communities. They're given incentives. They're sent on a visa, sent somewhere to give testimony, and given a nice international tour. Because this way you encourage that kind of voice. The kind of voice that you cover, that you feature, that you pay, compensate, gets encouraged. They supply you more of that. So there's been this procedure going on for a while, and nobody's written about it. The media is quite silent about it. And people who are activists and who complain, they just report on one incident here, one incident there. But as Krishna said, they haven't connected the dots, and they haven't come up with a whole overarching philosophy, or what is the overarching force that is behind all this. So that is what this book is trying to do. Now, there are some prestigious think tanks in New York, Washington, other places, very mainstream, that the average person would not think at all have anything sinister. They mean well. But they have been co-opted, because all you need is one important person of your own planted there, and he can organize seminars and bring the name of the reputation of that institution behind it. It comes up on their website. A report is issued which has the name of that prestigious institution for credibility. So I would say a lot of unknowingly, unwittingly, prestigious people have been brought into this. And one of the things this book wants to do is to bring this to their attention, that what they may be unconsciously helping has some consequences that they ought to be clear. They ought to understand what they're getting into. Now, I've had interesting reactions from many friends who are Western, liberal Christians, who've been involved with me in this book writing and reviewing it for so many years. Many of them have said, like one person I worked with said that, she said that she's been supporting a child in India, one of these Save a Child kind of program where you spend $20, $30 a month, and she's been supporting like a whole lot of these children. And after understanding what I've written, she's now verifying whether they're involved in such activities, and she's now stopped funding them, because she found that she cannot be sure of what these guys are up to behind all this nice cover of helping people, what exactly they're up to. So I'm finding that the reaction from the liberal Christians is actually not defensive. It is not. They are quite concerned that in the name of their tradition, such activities are going on. Because when you look at the leaflets, another thing I've done is I didn't have color graphics in the book, so for cost reasons, but we have scanned leaflets that they use for propaganda purposes, hate speech in the villages, and my co-author, who's a Tamilian, he translates it for me. So we have looked at what kind of message in the name of Christianity is being sent. And when you put that up on slides in front of Christians in a place like Princeton, they're appalled, and they're saying, this is not our faith. This is a misrepresentation of who we are. This is some people going and preaching this, but this is not really the message of Jesus as we understand it. So the point I'm making is that it is not something anti-Christian that is being written here. It is a political analysis of certain kinds of activities that are going on, such that many liberal Christians themselves find those kinds of activities going on in India to be offensive. So it is also a way to bring support from Christians to our side. Christians coming and supporting us because their name is being spoiled by such activities. Now, in 2005, this group in India, who are into this Davidianism and so on, they organized a major conference in New York, which got an endorsement from Hillary Clinton, who was senator at the time. And I don't think Hillary Clinton's people really checked it out. I mean, what they knew was that some well-to-do Indians are organizing and funding, and so she just sent a nice letter of congratulations. And in that letter, I've quoted it in this book, she says, and now the history of the oppressed Davidians or whatever will finally come to light, and these people are giving the history. She wrote all that kind of stuff. But I think she probably didn't know what she's writing. Somebody has drafted it for her. So this conference was the beginning of annual conferences. And New York was an important place to get some credibility, international credibility. Then they started doing other conferences in Chennai and in different parts of India and back in US. So they've done this now for several years. And they bring more and more. They first started with total quack, out off the mainstream scholars and speakers, and gradually they've been able to make inroads into mainstream academia and bring scholars that are in proper universities, and some of them are in important universities, to toe this line of a Dravidian race that is the true inhabitants of India, and all Sanskritized people, Sanskritized languages are foreign intruders, and they are like slave owners kind of language they're using. And so this Dravidian movement has co-opted the Dalit movement. There is now a Dravidian combined movement, and then Christianity is really co-opting both of these. So there is now a Christianization of this movement, and so a whole institutional mechanism has been working in a way that breaks up the historical continuity and common identity of Indian people in a way that can be quite serious.